She'll ruin everything, Daniel. Your mother always makes things about herself. My husband's voice carried through our son's phone speaker, not realizing I could hear every word. Just tell her the ceremony is for immediate family only. My son's reply made my heart stop. You're right, Dad. Ashley is more like a real mom anyway. I sat in my car outside Jason's college apartment, where I had driven 3 hours to surprise him with his favorite homemade cookies before tomorrow's graduation. Instead, I was learning that my husband of 25 years and our only son had already decided I wouldn't be welcome at the ceremony. My name is Margaret. I'm 48, and all I've ever wanted was to see my son graduate from college. When Jason was born with severe dyslexia, doctors said he might never read properly. I spent countless nights working with him, researching teaching methods, and fighting with school administrators to get him the support he needed. Now, he was graduating with honors in engineering, and I wasn't allowed to watch him walk across the stage. I waited until they finished the call before driving away, the container of chocolate chip cookies rowing cold on the passenger seat. Ashley, my husband's 32-year-old secretary-turned-girlfriend, had been in our lives for less than a year. After Robert moved out, claiming he needed space to find himself, she'd somehow become a permanent fixture at family events. Back at my small apartment, I pulled out the box I'd been saving for Jason's graduation. Inside was my own graduation gown from 20 years ago, when I'd finally finished my degree while raising a toddler. Robert had called it a waste of time back then. Why did a stay-at-home mom need a college education? But I'd done it anyway, walking across that stage with 3-year-old Jason watching from the audience. My phone buzzed with a text from Robert. Daniel told me you were lurking outside his apartment. Don't make this difficult, Margaret. The ceremony is small, intimate. Ashley and I will be there to support him. You can see the photos after. I stared at my reflection in the bedroom mirror, holding up the old graduation gown. It still fit, though a bit snug around the hips. 20 years of memories flooded back, the late-night study sessions with a sleeping toddler beside me, the pride in Jason's eyes when I got my diploma, the way he told everyone at press school. My mommy's a graduate too. Another text, this time from Jason. Mom, please don't make a scene. This is my big day. Dad says you always try to make everything about you. Just let me have this. My hands shook as I read his words. When had I become the embarrassing mother? The one to be hidden away. I thought about all the school plays I'd attended, the science fairs where I cheered maybe a little too loudly, the soccer games where I brought orange slices and enthusiasm. Had my love and support really been so smothering? I laid the graduation gown on my bed, smoothing out the wrinkles. Robert had always been the cool parent, the one who let rules slide and played the fun dad role while I enforced homework time and healthy meals. Now he had Ashley, who posted perfectly filtered photos of their blended family outings on social media, making sure to tag Jason in everyone. My sister Catherine called, having heard about the situation from our mother. You can't let them do this to you, Maggie, she said firmly. That's your son. You earned the right to be there. They're embarrassed by me, I replied, my voice small. Maybe they're right. Maybe I am too much. Too much what? Too much love. Too much support. Too much dedication to your child? Please. Catherine's voice dripped with disdain. Robert's been rewriting history ever since he traded you in for a younger model. Don't let him erase you from your own son's life. I looked at the graduation gown again, remembering the woman I'd been back then, determined, unstoppable, willing to fight for what mattered. Somewhere along the way, I'd lost her, letting Robert's criticisms and Jason's teenage embarrassment chip away at my confidence. Not anymore. I picked up my phone and typed a reply to Robert. You're right. The ceremony should be intimate. Just family. That's exactly why I'll be there. Then I turned off my phone, laid out my old graduation gown, and began to plan. If they thought I was going to miss my son's graduation, they had no idea who they were dealing with. Sometimes being too much was exactly what a situation needed. Tomorrow would change everything, and for once, I wasn't going to apologize for taking up space in my own son's life. The morning of the graduation dawned bright and clear. I dressed carefully, sliding into my old graduation gown with trembling fingers. The blue fabric still held its color, though the gold tassel was slightly frayed. I pinned my long brown hair back neatly, applied minimal makeup, and grabbed my handbag. Inside was a small envelope containing every school photo of Jason, from kindergarten through his college senior year. The university campus was already buzzing with excitement when I arrived. Families clustered together, taking photos and sharing proud hugs. I spotted Robert immediately, his tall frame easy to pick up in the crowd. He stood with Ashley, who wore a tight pink dress that looked more appropriate for a nightclub than a graduation ceremony. They were posing for selfies, Ashley's diamond ring catching the morning light. I took a deep breath and walked toward them, my graduation gown switching softly with each step. Robert saw me first, his face darkening with anger. "Margaret, what the hell are you wearing?" "My graduation gown," I replied calmly. "Class of 2003, remember? The year I finished my degree while raising our son." Ashley's perfectly penciled eyebrows drew together in confusion. "Robert, you said she wasn't coming." Her voice held a whine that made me wonder what exactly they'd told people about me. "She's not supposed to be here," Robert hissed, grabbing my arm and trying to steer me away from the crowd. "You're making a spectacle of yourself. Think about Daniel." I pulled my arm free. "I am thinking about Daniel. I'm thinking about the little boy who sat in the audience at my graduation, who told me he wanted to be just like his mommy someday. I'm thinking about every late night we spent working through his dyslexia, every victory we celebrated, every obstacle we overcame together." "That was years ago," Robert scoffed. "He's grown up now. He doesn't need his mother hovering over him anymore." "No," I agreed. "He doesn't need hovering. But he deserves to have his mother present on one of the biggest days of his life, whether it's convenient for you or not." I spotted Jason then, in his graduation robes, standing with a group of his friends. His eyes widened when he saw me, a mix of emotions crossing his face: embarrassment, confusion, and something else I couldn't quite read. "Mom," he called out, walking over. "What are you wearing?" "My graduation gown," I said again, opening my bag to pull out the envelope of photos. I thought today would be a good day to remember where we started. I handed him the first photo. Kindergarten, his smile missing 2 front teeth, his Daniel name tag crooked on his shirt. "This was the day you told your teacher you couldn't read the alphabet because the letters kept dancing. Remember what we did that night?" Jason's hands trembled slightly as he took the photo. He made letter cookies, said we could eat them only after we named them correctly. And within a month, you knew every letter by heart." I pulled out another photo, 3rd grade science fair. "Remember this project, the one about sound waves?" "You helped me build a guitar from scratch," he said softly. "We stayed up until midnight getting it perfect." Robert tried to interrupt, but Jason was already reaching for the next photo. Each image told a story, not just of his achievements, but of our journey together. Mother and son, fighting every obstacle that came our way. "I didn't come here to embarrass you," I said finally, watching his face as he looked through the memories. "I came because 20 years ago, you watched your mom graduate college. You told everyone who would listen that if I could do it, you could too. Today, I get to watch you prove that you were right." Tears welled in Jason's eyes. "Mom, Mrs. Bennett," a voice called from behind us. We turned to see Professor Matthews, Jason's academic advisor, approaching with a warm smile. "I thought that was you in your graduation gown. Daniel has told me so much about how you helped him overcome his learning challenges. Would you mind if I shared your story in my speech? It's quite inspiring." Before Robert or Ashley could object, Jason spoke up. "Actually, Professor Matthews, would it be possible for my mom to sit in the front row? She deserves to be there." I watched Robert's face turn an interesting shade of purple as Jason led me to the family seating area. Ashley's perfect pout trembled, but for once, neither of them dared to object. As I took my seat, smoothing my graduation gown over my knees, I caught snippets of conversations around me. Other parents were sharing their own graduation stories, some even wishing they'd thought to wear their old gowns. A few of Jason's friends came over to tell me they'd never known about his dyslexia, that they were amazed at how far he'd come. Just before the ceremony began, Jason squeezed my hand. "I'm sorry, Mom. I forgot who helped me get here. I let Dad and Ashley make me think that being enthusiastic about your kid's success was somehow embarrassing. But you know what? I'm proud to have a mom who cares enough to be too much." The ceremony was about to start, but this wasn't the end of our story. As I watched my son take his place among the graduates, I knew that sometimes the biggest victories come not from being quiet and accommodating, but from standing your ground and refusing to be erased from your own story. The graduation ceremony was beautiful. As Professor Matthews shared our story in his speech, I felt the atmosphere in the auditorium shift. When Jason's name was called, I stood up and cheered, not too loudly, but with all the pride a mother could hold. To my surprise, several other parents stood with me, creating a wave of support that brought a bright smile to my son's face. After the ceremony, while families gathered for photos, Jason approached me rather than joining Robert and Ashley's perfectly orchestrated photo session. "Mom, would you take a picture with me first? Both of us in our graduation gowns." We posed together, our matching blue gowns creating a beautiful symmetry. A professional photographer who had overheard our story asked if she could capture the moment. "This is what graduation is really about," she said, "generations lifting each other up." Robert watched from a distance, his jaw tight. Ashley kept trying to insert herself into the growing crowd around us. But for once, she wasn't the center of attention. Other parents were coming up to share their own stories of overcoming obstacles with their children, of fighting for their kids' education, of never giving up. "Mrs. Bennett," one mother said, tears in her eyes, "my daughter has dyslexia too. Would you mind sharing some of the techniques you use with Daniel? We've been struggling." Before I could answer, Jason jumped in. "Mom's amazing at breaking down complex reading strategies. She actually created this whole system using music and rhythm. It's why I can handle engineering texts now." The pride in his voice made my heart swell. This was the son I knew, not the one who had been temporarily swayed by Robert's manipulation and Ashley's artificial perfection, but the kind, appreciative young man I'd raised. Later, during the reception, Jason pulled me aside. "I need to show you something," he said, leading me to a quiet corner. He pulled out a folded piece of paper from under his graduation gown. "I wrote 2 speeches for today. This is the one I didn't give." I unfolded the paper carefully, reading his words. "To my mom, who wore her graduation gown today to remind me where I came from. Who never gave up on me, even when I gave up on myself. Who taught me that sometimes the biggest act of love is being too much when the world tells you to be less. Thank you for every late night, every flashcard, every moment you fought for me. This diploma belongs to both of us." Tears blurred my vision as I looked up at my son. "You didn't need to give this speech," I said softly. "You showed me everything I needed to know today." "But I want everyone to know," he insisted. "Dad's been trying to rewrite our family history since he met Ashley, making it seem like you were the problem. I let him convince me that his new perfect family was better than our real one. I'm done with that." As if on cue, Robert approached us, his face stern. "Daniel, Ashley's arranged a celebratory dinner at La Blanc's. Very exclusive. We should leave now." Jason straightened his shoulders, standing tall in his graduation gown. "Actually, Dad, I'm having dinner with Mom. We're going to Tony's Diner, you know, where we used to go after all my tutoring sessions. You and Ashley enjoy the blanks." The look on Robert's face was priceless. For years, he had worked to diminish my role in our son's life, to make me feel like I was too emotional, too involved, too much of everything. But standing there in my graduation gown, matching my son's, I knew I was exactly enough. That evening at Tony's, over plates of the same chocolate chip pancakes we'd eaten during countless study breaks, Jason and I talked about everything. His plans for the future, his newfound appreciation for our journey, and his determination to stop letting Robert's narrative influence his choices. "You know what, Mom?" he said, smiling over his coffee cup. "I think I want to start a tutoring program for kids with dyslexia. Using your methods. Would you help me set it up?" I reached across the table and squeezed his hand, remembering the little boy who once struggled to read his own name. "I'd be honored," I replied, "and I promise not to be too embarrassing about it." He laughed. "Be as embarrassing as you want, Mom. Some things are worth making a scene over." As we left the diner, Jason's friends from the engineering program were waiting outside. They had decided to skip the fancy graduation parties in favor of a casual celebration. "Mrs. B," they called out, "we heard about your cookie letter teaching method. Any chance you could make some for our study sessions next semester?" Looking at these bright young faces, at my son's proud smile, at the graduation gown I had worn with such purpose, I knew that sometimes the best response to being excluded is not to fight your way back in, but to create something better. Something real. Robert and Ashley could keep their perfect photos and exclusive restaurants. Jason and I had something they could never manufacture. A genuine bond forged through years of challenges, victories, and yes, sometimes being too much together. That night, as I hung both graduation gowns side by side in my closet, I smiled at the symmetry. Sometimes life comes full circle in the most beautiful ways, reminding us that we never needed to shrink ourselves in the first place. We just needed to wait for the right moment to stand tall, take up space, and show the world exactly who we are.